Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Marketing Office Hours with Matt Halloran. My name is Jay Coulter. On today's broadcast, you're going to hear from Emily Bender. She's going to talk about podcasting with Matt Halloran. You don't want to miss that segment. Two industry legends around podcasting talking about best practices for next year. And then Emily and I are going to do a deep dive on YouTube marketing and specifically shorts, where in my opinion, most advisors are missing the ball on shorts. Matt, it's going to be a great interview. We want to start with our social media roundup, but first, we're recording this at the end of the year. It's our last one for this year. What are you doing for the holidays?
Actually, not a lot, brother. I'm really excited about it. Conference season's over. I'm pretty much on the ground until March-ish. And so, yeah, this is just like I have a very, very tight-knit family. So we're just doing some pretty close-knit family stuff. I am going around and pretending to be Santa Claus everywhere I possibly can out in my local Kalamazoo area. And in fact, I had a lady who stopped me at Lowe's yesterday to take a picture to send to her children that Santa Claus was at Lowe's. So what's going on with you, dude?
Well, nothing as exciting as that. If I had your beard, I would dress up as Santa Claus and go around. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Think all the joy you bring to the young kids.
That's the goal, brother. That's the goal. So,
all right, for this social media roundup, you actually sent over some stuff that you'd like to talk through, and I'm going to pull up the first tweet from Carl Richards. Walk us through it, Matt.
Yeah, so there's a couple of reasons why I really wanted to bring this, because, advisors ask me all the time, what is the best sort of content? And if there's anybody who is able to really communicate unbelievably complex issues in a very simple way, it happens to be Carl. So there's two reasons why I wanted you to go ahead and show this. The first one is it's zero-click content. You guys are going to be hearing so much about zero-click content in the world of marketing in 2024 and in every year to come. If you can clearly and succinctly say exactly what you want to say in a short form where nobody has to click. And by the way, algorithms don't want you clicking away from their sites, right? And so that is the key here. Now, the other thing too is the simplicity of his drawings. Listen, he talks about the reality of financial planning with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words and 2 pictures. This is the level of simplicity, but it's not just the simplicity, it's the clarity. Actually, can you go to the next one? Because I think this is an even better example. So all of you think that financial decisions is all everybody thinks about, right? It's not true. Everybody's got a life, and a very small component of their life, which impacts all areas. I'm not trying to downplay it. But if you look at this, and if you're an advisor and you're trying to find ways to really solidify who you are, what you do, and what makes you unique and different, really allow you to infuse your own personality, please look at what Carl has created with Behavior Gap. Buy these images, put them on your walls, because they are so incredibly thoughtful, powerful, and just so clear that I just needed to highlight that, because I don't know of a better marketing resource, communication and education resource in our industry right now than what Carl is putting out on a regular basis on Twitter. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, listen, I've always respected Carl's work because I love simplicity, especially radical simplicity. Yeah. But my favorite part about Carl is he's always given to the advisor community freely. So if you don't know, he has a great partnership with Snappy Kraken. I believe they're rolling out something new next year. Great email marketing platform over at Snappy. And of course, with Carl's work there, I have advisors who've had success with that partnership.
Yeah.
He also runs a very successful podcast with Michael Kitsis, who is the next tweet you wanted to walk through.
Yeah. So here's the deal. All of you already know who Michael is. But if you're not actually consuming the content and really looking at the level of thought leadership that his social media presence provides, much like it's the same thing with Carl, these two people are just constantly giving back. So let's look at this though. So he's talking about the most used word, Jay, in 2023. Actually, do you know what it is? Do you know what the most used word? It's authentic. authentic. So us here at Proudmouth have been talking about unapologetically being yourself, how you need to, create authentic content. That's something that we've been talking about. So it's obviously not just something within our little world of financial services. It's everything that Kitsis is saying here. You are different, but in a way you don't realize. Please go ahead and click on this link. Please go ahead and take a look at what this is, because this is going to tee up Emily, which is another reason why I wanted this here, because we're talking about video, making sure that, you have short form content that's leading to longer form content. And that's really the superpower with what our guest is going to be bringing today, is being able to create unbelievably powerful and engaging pieces of micro content that leads to larger and longer form content where they can, when it's convenient for them, experiencing your advisorness, your you-ness, because you're the only you there is. So therefore you have zero competition. So I absolutely love this. And then there's a really massively contrasting tweet that you and I were going to talk about here, because the reason why I wanted this, which is so funny that you have a very different take on how you viewed this post specifically, zero-click content. Michael is giving you everything that you need to know to make you want to go somewhere else, but he's not giving you the outlet. This is brilliant zero-click marketing. Jay, we talk at Proudmouth all the time about what we refer to as pleasing the algorithm. All right. So we have a team who is constantly looking at the algorithmic changes that happen on all of the major social media platforms, including YouTube, Google, all of them, right? And so we know that you have to be making very specific, and a lot of times it's minor adjustments, but right now, everything is about zero-click content, and this is a perfect example. Now, as a financial services professional, you were happy about this for what reason?
Actually, it's both financial services and marketing. So years ago, Matt, I don't know if you remember this, you actually pushed me. You said, Jay, you're way too nice on social media. You're way too vanilla and bland. And I really haven't changed. I mean, my thought is I'm like Switzerland. I don't do any politics. There's no virtue signaling. It is all advice for advisors that could help them and bringing people on that do the same thing. But one thing that's really bothered me for this past year is the complete gaslighting around inflation. People are struggling. Families are being crushed by inflation. And it's not, well, it might be a political issue, but it still doesn't change the fact that people are hurting. Yeah. And it's nice to see people recognizing that now, maybe pushing the bounds a little bit. And Matt, my plan for next year is to really be an advocate for helping those families who are struggling with this inflation. And it won't matter who wins the next election. The inflation's still going to be here and people are hurting and we can't pretend like they're not. So that was my takeaway from it, Matt. It was a reminder that you told me to not be so vanilla. And this is the thing that I'm going to lead into a little bit myself.
Yeah. And brother, that's the goal. And I think every advisor really needs to hear this, right? It's you have to attach yourself to an issue that you're fiercely passionate about, because Jay, you and I have had passionate conversations, and that's really where that came from, dude. It wasn't just a sharp stick in the eyes. I've seen you get fired up, bro. And that's what people want. People want that Janus. People want to know what you're passionate about. Even if they don't agree, they still appreciate the passion. So Ron Carson from the stage many, many years ago, him and I were speaking somewhere. I think it was in Arizona. And one of the things that he said was, you don't have to be right. You have to be passionate, and you have to have conviction. People want passion and they want conviction more than they want you being right. And man, that changed how I looked at really everything when it came to business, because we're always so afraid of being wrong, where what we should be afraid of is not being passionate and not having the conviction.
Or not being heard.
Or not being heard. Yeah.
All right. This past week, you were at Market Council. In case you have not seen any of the pictures out of that conference, this is how Matt rolled in. I love the red coat.
Dude, I appreciate that. I can't believe you're sharing this, dude. So here's the deal. Market Council's fancy, right? And so I messaged Kirk and I was like, dude, like they're actually talking about a dress code at this conference, and I don't follow dress codes, right? I'm usually wearing jeans and my red Nikes, and I'm usually wearing, I have this nice kind of like a baseball-y sort of zip up jacket, but this was like, it wasn't business professional, but it was like business attire. And so I was like, okay. So Buffalo Check, we're a Canadian company, as most people know. And I really love Buffalo Check. I mean, I'm wearing gray Buffalo Check now, but Buffalo Check is red. And so I typed into Google red or Buffalo Check blazer. And this company came up and I was like, let's see what happens. Their tagline was "Stay weird." And I was like, I don't care if I'm ever going to wear this. I'm buying this just because the tagline. So I went ahead and bought it. I got it 3 days before the conference. And of course, my wife is, like my best friend. And on top of that, I'm mostly colorblind. And so she's always helped me pick out my outfits. Don't get mad at me if I'm wearing things that clash. But anyway, and I put this on and dude, it fit me like a glove. Dude, it's like a tailored coat. And then So I got a lot of comments on it, but here's the deal. I knew I was on a panel with somebody, and I don't know if your audience knows Anthony Steech, or Seach. Sorry, I never pronounce his name right. I feel bad because I really love the guy. He's known as Mr. Purple, and Mr. Purple, if you don't know who this guy is, he's with Entrustedy. He is like the greatest dressed person ever. And I knew I was on a panel with him, and so I was like, okay, dude, I got to step up my game. So that's what this was. Now, listen, very quickly, Market Council Summit. Oh my God. I know Market Council Summit is an invitation only thing. It's actually rather difficult to get there. We've been with Market Council Summit since 2017. This is my third time being at council. And here are the big things. Here are the big takeaways, right? Number one, wirehouses and banks aren't going to have advisors much longer. They're just not. They're so tired. All of these huge producers, huge billion-dollar producers are running away from the big, especially the wirehouses, because they're just so tired of being so hamstrung. And not with just my world of marketing, but also in your world, Jay, of investment management, products and services being able to be offered. The other huge conversation was AI. There's probably 4 or 5 panels on AI, the dangers of AI, the benefits of AI. That was really fascinating. And then they had this really long panel or really long presentation, which was the only solo presentation of the entire thing by their chief compliance officer, talking about SEC final rule testimonials and that advisors are doing it wrong and they're going to get in trouble because they heard they can do testimonials, but they don't realize the actual SEC guidelines on what you need to do to have those testimonials. So normally, Jay, what happens is you have to put a disclosure and disclaimer and the end of something, and that's usually passing compliance approval. Not the case, dude. If you have a client on your podcast, if you have a client on a video, if you are going to go ahead and use a testimonial, you have to say right at the outset the big things. Were they is this person a client, and did they receive any sort of compensation for this testimony? Has to be done at the beginning, and then it has to also be done at the end. So as a compliance geek, dude, I was like sucked into that presentation. And that was rather eye-opening.
Matt, I've known you for 5 years. I've never heard you reference yourself as a compliance geek or anybody else in the industry for that matter.
God, dude, I love that stuff. When the SEC final rule came out, I read the whole damn thing.
Awesome. Before we get off Market Council, I do want to share with everybody what I believe is the greatest tweet from that conference.
Okay, so this is the green room, dude. This is so funny. So Kelly walks in. Kelly Waltrich is right next to me. She walks in. She's wearing this beautiful sparkly blazer, right? So Johnny Sandquist has got flowers all over his, and Shannon, who's the person who interviews Shannon Rossick, she's like, dude, what are you all doing? Nobody told me that I was supposed to wear cool blazers. But look at Anthony. Look at this guy. I mean, he's head to toe. He got custom shoes that are unbelievable. They're always tennis shoes. But yes, so Anthony walks in and he goes, oh my God, this looks like something out of Succession. We need to do a family picture. So here's the fun, dude. He's so freaking creative. So he goes, Kelly and I are mom and dad. Shannon and Johnny are the kids. And Matt, you're crazy Uncle Matt. And I was like, okay, first off, I don't know if you understand this, but my brother introduced me to his children as crazy Uncle Matt. I am crazy Uncle Matt in my family. So I really fit in. So this one was we took pictures of us being happy and sad and, all of this stuff. But this is the one. This has got tens of thousands of views on Twitter, so many comments, and it was all just an extemporaneous thing, man. You can't put a bunch of marketing people in a room together and not think some magic's going to happen. And then we got on stage, Jay, and oh my God, the wisdom from Kelly Waldrich, the stuff from the whole team, from Johnny, from Anthony. Anthony, I got into an argument on stage, which was super fun. We started arguing about Gen X, and that was so much fun. So anyway, I love these are wonderful people who I'm so happy to count as friends. And this picture just makes me happy. It will probably end up being the most viewed picture and will probably be a Market Council staple, hopefully from here on out. So
excellent. Yeah. Looks like it was a lot of fun.
We had fun.
Looks like the whole conference was a lot of fun and very insightful. All right. Well, why don't we bring Emily on? I'm going to let you interview her around podcasting. I'm going to step off the stage and bring me back on when it's time to talk about YouTube marketing.
Beautiful. Emily!
Hi, Matt. How's it going?
It's going. It's going. Did you by any chance see that family picture from the Market Council Summit?
I hadn't seen it before, but I loved it. I love Billy. Succession, rather.
Yeah, being in the room there. All right, sister. So here's the deal, right? I'm actually going to take this in a little bit different of a direction because you and I have had passionate offline discussions about the length of content. So, I'm a long form content guy, but you have found such great power in shorter form content. How can people still use audio as their media if they're not comfortable with video? How can they use audio but keep it short so that it falls into what you have found and what Jay is going to talk to you about, which is the power of micro content?
Well, I've been talking about audiograms for a long time, which those are audio only, but I have had a podcast for 5 years, and this is anecdotal, but I think applies to everybody. In the last, let's say, 9 months, I've added video to my podcast, which the show is called Voice Marketing with Emily Binder. Ever since I've added video, people are like, oh, I see your stuff in my feed all the time. Did you start a podcast? No, it's a 5-year-old show, but just the way that the algorithms are right now, the way that attention spans work, you have to do short form video if you really want your podcast to succeed, if your goal is to grow the audience. So 1-minute clips, YouTube Shorts especially, that's really a powerful way to do it. And you know what? They can be super raw. You don't have to have a studio. It could be like a quick Riverside or StreamYard. But incorporating videos, it's huge. Like, you have to do it at this point.
Okay, so one of our parts of our influence acceleration system is interviewing guests. How can you incorporate that back and forth in such a short period of time? Let me rephrase. Can you do that? And if so, can you enlighten us how you might be able to do that?
Definitely. So when you're interviewing somebody, I'm always thinking in terms of what's going to be clippable. And while you don't want to ever create content to appease the algorithm, you do need to keep in mind, what format is this going out on and how am I going to be able to help people the most? So ask a guest a pointed question that is answerable in about a minute. I mean, sure, they're going to go over a minute, but you can kind of chop out the dead space and make it into a 1-minute clip and just have 2 people in the frame, right? Like a stacked vertical video. They're so effective, Matt.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna Jay's got a whole bunch of questions for you along that, but a minute.
You can do a lot in a minute. You think about Super Bowl ads, like 30-second spots cost millions of dollars. You can get a full message out in 30 seconds. A minute's plenty.
My wife and I were watching YouTube yesterday because that's what we do, and we were watching funny videos or whatever, and a commercial came on, and you can skip it after whatever 5-6 seconds or whatever, and they were 6 seconds in and they still hadn't told me who they are and what they did, and it drives me crazy, Emily, if you can't tell me who you are, what you do in 6 seconds or whatever that clip is. So Stoey Hall, who I think you know, was on our podcast a little while ago. And one of the things that he said is you can say so much without saying a lot. And I that was really from a compliance standpoint, but I think it's very valuable here. If you practice, you can say so much in a minute. But on the panel that I was on at Market Council Summit, Kelly Waltrich had said, well, you have 8 seconds, right?
Yeah,
So you have so much experience here. How do you help advisors, or what advice can you give advisors to help them get that clear and that succinct?
Well, it takes practice, that's for sure. Um, just drilling down your message. I mean, what's your elevator pitch in the first place? I love to ask people this question, and I'll say, so I don't say, what do you do? That's very gauche and boring. Like, I just met somebody. Oh, what do you do? It's a very American thing.
Yeah.
So how do you like that cocktail? How'd you get to the party tonight? Eventually it might come up, what do you do? And at that point, hopefully they can do it in a sentence, maybe 2. You'd be surprised how few people can. Even just start there and like, what do you do? How do you, and this is, that example with the shopping carts. Like, if you're an employee at a grocery store, you want someone who has skin in the game. So if you ask an employee, what do you do? They shouldn't say, well, I gather the carts from the parking lot and pull them back to the front of the store. You could say, I make an amazing shopper experience. I keep the ground sparkling clean so that everybody can get their groceries and have a better day. Like, do you see the difference there? So maybe you could answer that as an advisor. Like, I give people peace of mind. It's related to finance, but say it that way. And then if you can answer other questions in that way and just use like plain language, or, appeal to ethos and not necessarily use all the stats and the quantitative stuff, I think that kind of content works better too.
Well, we had given examples of Kitsis and Carl Richards in our kind of Twitter roundup. Do you think that you can take that level of simplicity, 0-click content within a minute and communicate those sorts of things? If you look at Carl's images specifically, can you use that as a catalyst to create this micro short form content?
Sure. You can communicate everything you need to in a minute. As far as broad strokes, we're not going deep on these ideas, but the goal when it is short form content is to get somebody thinking about just one thing. It's not 7 things. It's not your whole spiel. It's not everything you do. Like, we're all tempted to go into, and we also do this, and we have this other offer. No, just how do you solve their problem, and just pique that curiosity. That's really the goal.
Sure.
It's to pique curiosity. And when it comes to a podcast, if you're doing short form content, it's to get somebody watching it long enough that the algorithm's going to give them more of it, and eventually, ultimately, hopefully, they will listen to the full episode or
Sure.
go to your website.
So let's talk about that. So you and I have both been podcasting for longer than either of us probably would like to say we are, with hundreds of episodes in the can and all of that sort of stuff. When you started doing that, was video the switch that really had you hit what we refer to at Proudmouth as escape velocity? Where is that really, or how long did you have to be putting stuff in the can before you started seeing, quantifiable and tangible results from the show?
It was years. When I first started, I've had 2 different podcasts. The first one was from, I believe, 2012. I did that for 3 years. That was the Beetle Moment podcast when I interviewed people for 45 minutes. That was untenable after a while, as you can tell. Like, interviewing somebody is a lot.
Yeah.
So then I went to the mini pod, which is just me for 5 minutes about once a week. It turned out to be like every other week. But when I added video in 2023, that's when I started really seeing the stats jump, and people, more so the word of mouth, if someone would come up to me at a conference like, oh, I saw you started a podcast. Oh yeah, even my 5-year-old thing that I was doing audio only. I love audio, I love voice. I think that's amazing. It's a great place to start, especially if you aren't comfortable with video or don't want to do the extra production of video. But we have some great ways to do it easily and affordably. Beetle Moment Marketing, my company, this is something we've been doubling down on in the past year. So the other thing that's great about it is you can do experiments and see, like, would this topic even work? And you're just doing a 1-minute video. It's not a 30-minute investment.
Well, let's talk about that. So before I bring Jay on, I definitely want to talk a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you help advisors use their voice and or video to create this content, because you're doing it in, it's not unconventional anymore, because when I first interviewed you years ago, it was very unconventional. But this is ubiquitous, right? I mean, all of us have our smarts, everything, everywhere. And all of us are really consuming this. I think TikTok was a huge advent of, well, I mean, unfortunately Vine went under because that was more fun. But, TikTok, has it really solidified this sub 3 minutes, closer to a minute to 90 seconds content that is really getting people's attention. So before you dive into all of the video stuff with shorts and stuff that you're going to talk about with Jay in a minute, would you mind just giving everybody a quick skinny on what you're doing and how it works?
Yes. So I have two companies. What you're referencing is Wealth Voice, which we're still doing Wealth Voice, and that's a pure voice play. So that's share your voice on Alexa and any mobile device that's voice activated, voice AI driven marketing, clips, flash briefings. You could even sync a full podcast. So Wealth Voice is where you do your voice play. Beetle Moment Marketing is my consultancy that's been going since 2017. That's all over branding, marketing, social content, even SEO, video. So that they kind of play together. So if someone's on Wealth Voice and they say, well, we want to level up and do some more videos. Okay. So we can do that through Beetle Moment.
Got it. Where did that name come from?
It's a moment of synchronicity. It's from Carl Jung, my favorite psychologist, psychiatrist. Yeah. The universe winks at you, Matt. Like, oh, that was more than a coincidence.
Got it. I did. Oh, wow. What a cool freaking. All right.
I made it up out of a book I read in college. It's just like this random story he told about this patient who had a dream about a beetle. But I wanted an animal, and I wanted a unique name in my business name. And I searched it. It was totally available. Like there's one other page on the whole internet that has that phrase. So
that's absolutely fantastic. Damn good marketing, sister. All right. We're going to bring Jay back. I'm going to go back into the green room. You and him are going to talk about video snippets, YouTube shorts, and he's also, this is really cool, everybody. Jay is going to offer himself up as tribute. I'm sorry. I just watched Hunger Games yesterday with my wife in the theater. He's going to offer himself up as tribute to get some real-time feedback on stuff he's doing. So I'll see you guys for my final word in a few minutes.
Thank you, Matt. Emily, great to have you back on one of my shows. You were on 2 years ago. We talked about voice marketing, and it was one of our most popular shows by far. And I attribute it to two things. Number one, you delivered great content and it was very valuable. Number two, that's just when we started chopping things up and putting them on social media platforms and had launched our Instagram. So everything you and Matt were talking about, I can verify through our experience with Financial Advisor TV. It's really, really, really impactful. So I appreciate that. On this show, we're going to talk about YouTube. So let's start high level. You're an advisor watching this. You don't have a YouTube channel. You're tired of hearing people talk about you need a YouTube channel, but it's time. Tell us why and what are the first couple of steps?
YouTube's really important because video is probably the most engaging of any type of content on social media. I love voice. Been talking about voice for years. Video it's voice plus more, right? So if you look at the stats by 2024, YouTube number of users is projected to increase by 7.5% to 933.4 million. By 2026, we're looking at over 1 billion. So this is another one of these fast growing mediums. The other thing, the beauty of it is search. So largest search engine in the world, Google, followed by YouTube, followed by Amazon, by the way. So you've got number two, but they're both owned by Alphabet, number one, number two. Anytime somebody from a search perspective is looking for information, just super top of funnel, right? They're like, hey, Google, what's a mega backdoor rod? YouTube results are served up right there at the top. So if you had a short or a video that answers that question, you plugged in the keywords correctly, you're showing up. That's so much more engaging than someone to go read through a whole blog post, right? They just want answers quickly. So it's a search play. It's a great way to get somebody, in the door that had never heard of you before. If you have a podcast, it's the best way to market it to new audiences, shorts in particular, not 30-minute long videos. No one's watching that. But the shorts, it's like the power of TikTok, everything that's great about Instagram, but it has the SEO value. That's why YouTube Shorts, in my opinion, that's the thing to double down on in 2024. If you're looking at what media should I be doing, that's it.
Excellent. And you and I are eating from the same trough on that, which is why I was excited to go deep on YouTube here with you. And I can tell you from the Advisor Speed Demo series that we produce here on Financial Advisor Television, we now know from folks who've come on and done a demo on our platform and we've live streamed it onto YouTube. When you go into YouTube and search them up, it's usually one of the top 3 results, just because they've put their content out there in a way that they want to message what they can deliver for folks. It really is incredible as a search tool. Let's start with your YouTube channel. So this is actually, why don't you describe the YouTube channel?
I actually can't see. Are you looking at my channel right now?
I am.
Okay. I think I have like a lag time on my app. But so my YouTube channel, this is an odd, interesting kind of story, but I started this channel like 10 years ago, and not with any strategy. I put up a weird video like Instagram FAQ or something. It's terrible. Don't go watch it. But about 5 years ago, this was after I had created my first LLC, and I thought, gosh, I wish there had been a video that made this easy because it was so painful. Why don't I make a video called How to File an LLC? Best tips no one told me. And I shot it outside. The audio is terrible. But interestingly, it somehow got picked up by the algorithm and it started racking up tens of thousands of views. My channel got monetized. I'm not a lawyer. Like, my content's about marketing. It's just a random thing. But then I was like, oh, wait, this is really powerful. What if I made videos about the things that I actually do sell and that I'm an expert in? So I've been making videos about marketing and branding and voice, podcast, mic reviews, all kinds of things. The thing I do is it helpful? Is it something that there's a gap of knowledge, or I could explain it better or quicker or more entertaining than whatever else is out there?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I do get business from it. I love YouTube. I also have you could book a coaching or consulting call with me. I've had people who just saw a video. I was like, here's how you set up your microphone for your first podcast, and they'll book a call with me, and it's not cheap. But there's a sense of trust after watching me on YouTube where they're like, she can help me. It's worth it, because it's not like I'm on a website and I don't know what I'm buying.
Yeah. Yep. So are you able to see the screen now?
No, somehow, Jay, I'm not. I don't know why. But
Okay.
just tell me what you're looking at.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm going to walk you through my YouTube page, which there's some things that I do differently. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't say mine. This is the Financial Advisor Television YouTube page. Now, for folks who can't see it right now at the top of the screen, it shows our live broadcast right now. There's a lag, so it's still showing you and Matt having a conversation. And whenever we have live shows, it presents at the top. And I'm telling you all this, Emily, for critical feedback and what you would change. Now, YouTube is recently starting to put in a For You section, which isn't part of our page. It's part of what they think I want to see. And then at the very top, Emily, I have our shorts. So you see shorts from crypto office hours, marketing office hours, and other thought leadership out there in the marketplace. Then underneath that, I run different series. So these all have a common theme. So one's advisor speed demos. The next one is...
I pulled it up here, so now I can see.
You can see it? Okay,
I
excellent.
put it on my phone. Okay.
So my first real question for you is, I have shorts at the top of the page. Is that something you would do for the website version?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's nice to have the shorts up there. Let's see, shorts. So you have the opportunity to do playlists or to order the content here on your own page. I would put shorts at the top if you're, if you have good ones. If you don't present something until there's something there that you want people to see. Advisor speed demos. Is that the most important thing for you, is for them to see the speed demos right away?
It's our most watched, but could I go back to shorts for a second? So, so some of our shorts, they just hit and they do really well. Here's one we did. It's Matt talking to Matt Ackerman over at Integrated Partners. And I mean, that ended up with almost 1,000 views. And then some of them, they just die. We try and put them out once a day. So my question to you is, what type of cadence? And then if we have some that hit and do well and some that don't, do we play around with the ordering of them?
Some of them will die on the vine. I've had shorts, like I do these for clients, and sometimes it's hard to tell what worked about something, but I would feature the shorts. If you've got ones with thousands of views, put them on there. And shorts can also be part of playlists. So you might want to do a playlist of, if there's a specific, like if it's around crypto, the crypto playlist. But it also allows you to show most popular videos or top viewed. Like I usually put the top viewed ones as my first thing that anyone sees if it's not shorts. And then I'll do the next playlist of, let's call it like mini pod clips. Then I'll do a playlist like personal finance tips, because I have some credit card review videos that have thousands of views. Part of what you're doing on this page is you're establishing that social proof. Because if someone's like, who is this person? If they're new to the channel, I'm sure they know who you are, but just in case they don't, you're like, here's my video with 70,000 views. Stick around. I have more great content. even if your video that has 10 views on it was like a way better one, you're getting them in the door by showing them that. It's just credibility right away to put those top views at the top.
Okay.
But
So
you know, one other thing though is most views on your videos are not coming from this page. People don't come to your YouTube homepage very often at all. This is like a vanity exercise. What matters is they're going to be coming in through the feed or YouTube recommendations, or sometimes from external, like from social. So that's where you should spend time too, is on SEO, like the tags, the title. That's how they're going to find those videos usually.
we could probably do a whole show just on that, couldn't we?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How to SEO it. Yeah. All right. So like you suggested, we've gone through and we've created different playlists, one for my podcast, one from a couple asset managers, crypto office hours, etc. Is that a best practice? Is there a certain period of time where they age out and I need to take them off?
Don't take anything down, but if something is irrelevant or no longer accurate, if it was very timely, like a commentary on current events, you can keep that on your channel. I never delete any videos, even the terrible ones. There's
Okay.
reasons not to. It's just like, don't get rid of a credit card because your credit history from your Amex from 1985, that's great. Look at the age of your credit. Keep those old videos. There's lots of reasons to. Feature the stuff that's most important to your business, like what's going to drive revenue for you or make people think about the topics that are important to you right now. Like I have so many videos about flash briefings on Alexa, which I still think they're cool, but that's not something I'm focusing on anymore because the growth is in other areas. Like, sure, I'll do a briefing if you want one, but I'm not going to lead with that in 2024.
Okay. But you do love shorts now. Tell me what's the business case and marketing case for financial advisors to lean into shorts?
Okay. So like I mentioned, you have the search value where YouTube, #2 search engine in the world. It's a quick way to test new ideas. If there's a topic that you don't want to invest too much time in and see, like, do people want to know about this? See how the short does. The other thing that's cool about them is if somebody engages on your content on YouTube Shorts, then they're going to be served up your longer form content. Let's call it your cornerstone foundational content. Like you might have 1 or 2 videos to get the most views. Most channels do. They're going to get served that video if they came in through a short about something adjacent, but maybe not the same exact topic. So they're really powerful in that regard. Like I said, just to recap, you've got all of the benefits from a user interface perspective of TikTok and Instagram Reels. It's short form, it's vertical, it's mobile friendly, it's about a minute long, but you have that search backing. And the titles usually include 1 or 2 hashtags. If you're doing them, I definitely recommend that. That gives you algorithmically an opportunity to get in front of thousands, tens of thousands of people in a few hours. Long form videos don't, unless you have a huge popular channel. They're not serving up your 30-minute video when you have 100 followers, but a short easily could get 5,000 views in the first 2 hours if it's good.
Yep. Excellent. All right. So I have a couple of the shorts that you've produced that I want to show the audience. I hope you're able to see these, Emily. So the first one we have up is...
I see it.
You see it. Excellent.
Oh yeah. G Harden. I love Greg.
Do you want to set it up before I play it?
Yeah, I'll set it up. So the man on the bottom of this is Jonathan Satovsky. He's one of our clients. We do his podcast called Wisdom, Wealth, and Wellness. Greg Harden is the one on the top. He is the performance coach to Tom Brady, Michael Phelps, Desmond Howard, University of Michigan, absolute legend. Look him up, Greg Harden, ESPN coverage, everything. Greg was a guest on John's podcast. So we did a 30-minute full-on interview, which is on Spotify, everywhere else. Then we did these shorts. So go ahead and play it. The episode's about Greg's wisdom and performance and psychology. I think the sound's off, right? That maybe it's supposed to be, but they can read the captions. Yeah, Matt and I can't hear it. So that's okay, even if they can't. Can you hear it, Jay? Jay, because he's the host.
Yeah. Yep. I can hear it
That's
on my
okay,
end,
though.
and I set it to play, but sometimes StreamYard gets a little bit funky too.
I've never had it work on Zoom or anywhere where you try to do that. But so that was one that I love Greg. He's one of our best episodes. But interestingly enough, there was another clip. I'm not sure if you have it teed up with Bob Roth. So Bob Roth is the father of transcendental meditation. He has coached Oprah, Katy Perry, Russell Brand. He's a really big deal. He's the head of the David Lynch Foundation. Obviously, John has a lot of cool guests on the show. This short was interesting because you can see that the blue is different. So we always are A/B testing like a dark blue, a light blue. Where do we put the captions? Different styles. This one got 1,400 views in like the first hour. And this was only our second episode of the entire brand new podcast on a somewhat nascent YouTube channel. So the point I'm going back to illustrate is even if you have a somewhat new channel or inactive, you don't have a lot of social followers, that's okay. This was one of our first forays into doing this, and it was racking up views in 2 hours. Part of it's because Bob Roth is a searched name, but you can get it with no names or unknown people too. I've seen that happen.
Excellent. So I'm sorry if you could not hear the audio on your end. I tested it beforehand. I just can't get it to work, which brings me to a platform question. So I've been using StreamYard for a long time. I know some other firms use Riverside. What do you use? And do you have any thoughts on either one of those?
We use Riverside. However, I don't do live streams like this. So I do think StreamYard might be the best for what you're doing, Jay. Riverside has been great for recording audio and video. It does have an AI element, which it's got magic clips, but I don't like using that. I'm very selective about the clips that we feature because it's an important, I think, human-driven decision to know, like, oh, that was the best minute. Plus, you can't upload custom fonts, and I'm into branding. Like, I don't want this to look weird between different clips. That was Bebas New, which, by the way, is one of the best fonts for captions on YouTube. It's Bebas. That's the one you see everywhere because visually it's one of the easiest to read. You might want your own custom brand font, though, like from your website, because then it stands out. So these are all decisions to make.
Excellent. All right. Why don't we make a couple of YouTube shorts and show the audience how we do it? And then after it's produced, we'll make sure we link back to this segment in the interview. So there are a couple of topics that I ran by Emily in advance that I think would help financial advisors. We're going to show you how we record it. I'm going to take all of my branding off, all the FATV branding. I'm going to leave the screen and set Emily up with a question that she's going to answer in less than 60 seconds. So Emily, what are the best SEO tips for financial advisors as we head into 2024?
Best SEO tips heading into 2024. YouTube Shorts. That's my number one SEO tip. And while it's not on-site SEO for a blog post, for example, you can get more engagement and search value out of doing a YouTube short that is optimized using 1 or 2 really good hashtags and having the first 3 seconds of that video be engaging so you have a high completion rate. You're aiming for 90%. That's going to bring people into following you, ultimately getting onto your website. And YouTube knows that that came from your brand. So it all feeds that same web. So YouTube Shorts sounds like a video tip, but it's actually an SEO tip.
Excellent. Emily, what's your best YouTube advice for financial advisors today?
Best YouTube advice, financial advisors. You need to be making videos about topics that are interesting to your audience, but look for a unique perspective on it, or take something that others have talked about, but add your 2 cents or something unique about it that hasn't been said. Or maybe just make it simpler and shorter. If you can be brief and still deliver value, that's always going to be better than somebody that's long-winded, even if they have a lot more followers than you.
And last one, Emily, which will set up our last topic. What is sonic branding?
Sonic branding is the sound of your brand. This is so important. You'd be surprised how few brands do it, but everybody should, and more are. If you have a visual brand identity, which I hope you do, this is your logo, your color palette, your typography on your website. That's a feeling that we perceive visually, but what's the sound? If you're doing multimedia like podcasts, video, any kind of clips, even if you have on hold music at your office or executive walk on, that all should have a sonic DNA, just like your logo has a color palette, and there's emotions that are associated with sound. We process it 10 times faster than the blink of an eye. So we do sonic branding through Wealth Voice for all of our clients. You need a unique sound. Otherwise, you're using stock music. You sound like everybody else. It's not memorable. It has no branding.
Excellent. So let's dive into that. So you're an advisor. You're starting to build content. You're going to put out some type of sonic branding. What's the process you take advisors through?
We made it really easy. So I had this done for me by a very major sonic branding agency, Audio Brain. My friend Audrey Arbini, it's in New York. She sonic branded NBC Olympics, McDonald's kiosks, Xbox 360. It's expensive. We had our sonic branding done by Audio Brain, and I was like, most people can't spend tens of thousands of dollars on their sonic branding. Maybe we could give them like a bite-sized, smaller, easier way to do it. If you're not looking for a major agency, corporate whole situation of sonic DNA. You answer a short survey. It's like 6 adjectives to describe your brand. Are you modern, friendly, thoughtful, or are you conservative, prestigious, powerful? Just like when you're coming up with a visual identity, you need to know what are the emotional triggers that I want someone to associate with my brand. So we have a composer, and it's a human being. And it's actually Daniel Crosby's brother, Garrett Crosby. He's an amazing musician. So Garrett's our composer. He comes up with, like, he did it for Asset Map, Whipfly Financial. We did it for John Satowski's show, the podcast we looked at earlier. And it's so neat because he'll give you custom music, and then we do stingers, vamps, long intro music, short outro, just variations. You can add your own voiceover. So the main use case is podcasts. Jay, I'm sure that you've listened to podcasts before and you're like, that music sounds familiar. It's that kind of modern YouTube background music that everybody uses. Don't do that. That's like getting your logo off of Google Images. You need something unique. That sounds like you.
Oh, man. And where could people learn more about that service you provide?
It's at wealthvoice.ai.
Excellent. Now, I'd like to pull up my audio tag, but you're not going to be able to hear it. But maybe I can at least play it and let you please make it critical. Put a critical lens on what we do. This goes at the end of our verticals, and horizontal videos. Since you can't hear it, it's a keyboard that is typing while this goes for 5 seconds.
Oh, I bet that sounds, I couldn't hear it, but I can imagine, it's like, and the keys kind of line up with where the letters are coming through. Yeah, that's nice. Right. I like it because it's nice and quick. So that would be, it might be a Sonic, I don't know if that's your Sonic logo, but it could be a different name of an asset. That's nice, and it's short. And if you do it every time, what you're creating is a mental association. It actually takes 1 to 2 years to form in the brain, but once it's there, it's sticky. Because think about those jingles that you heard as a kid, like 588, the Empire carpet. McDonald's obviously is one of the top ones, but you want that for your brand. So you want to sound the same every time and always put that little, it's almost like a sonic watermark.
Yeah. Would you put it at the beginning ever?
If you're doing a longer video, yes, but on a short, like on a 1 minute thing, don't do anything in the first 3 seconds that's not super attention grabbing. Like, it should be you speaking right away. At the end, on a short, I would do it.
Excellent. Emily, I appreciate you coming on. I could talk to you for hours about this stuff. I feel like we just scratched the surface. So hopefully we can get you on again next year. I'm going to bring Matt on for the final word. I hope you have a great holiday season, and thanks again.
You're welcome, Jay. You too.
Matt, I mean,
that was so good, dude. Holy crap. I'm typing in the chat. This is so good. Oh, that was such a wonderful conversation, man.
I feel as though she should become like a quarterly regular. Oh, I feel like we barely scratched the surface there.
Yeah. So much depth there of wisdom, so much experience there. She's a gift to this industry. So,
well, Matt, why don't you take us home with the final word of 2024?
All right. Final word of 2024. Okay, everybody. So there's a couple of different things that just came out from this one that I'm going to go ahead and highlight. From the beginning of really looking at what Carl Richards has built with Behavior Gap and creating very, very short, clear, and succinct messages through his artwork, to the Kitsy's articles that are showing 0-click short form content that is communicating something, again, very clearly and succinctly, to what Emily was just talking about creating these minute shorts with appropriate hashtags, which are going to be more algorithmically pleasing than long form content. But this is a process, right? This is a system. I want everybody to understand that you have to be creating this short form content, but the short form content needs to lead to something greater depth onto your website. Downloading a white paper, subscribing to your blog, listening to your podcast, coming to a workshop, setting an appointment. One of the biggest issues that we found, and something that we call the perfect content formula, which is storytelling, education, entertainment, call to action, is even in a minute-long video, all 4 of those things need to happen. Tell a quick story, be entertaining, provide education, but most importantly, Tell them what to do next. People expect that, and it's vitally important. And then when you sprinkle all of the other magical stuff on there that Emily and Jay were just talking about, which is making sure that your channel is optimized, making sure that you have a good SEO in place, making sure that you're using appropriate hashtags, making sure that you're highlighting the right things on your YouTube channel, that philosophy has to become ubiquitous between all of your marketing. Everything that you're doing needs to have that specific look and feel. I love that Emily was just talking very quickly about, the font differences. So many of you think that your brand is just a logo. Your brand is how everybody should feel when they interact with your content. And with that, I hope everybody has a great rest of your 2023. Looking forward to 2024, because here's the deal. This is the year of pretty amazing stuff that's going to happen. The AI revolution, advisors are starting to realize the power of marketing, that there's a huge movement between people leaving captive environments and that are moving to independence. All of this is going to make a huge difference in your life and in our world of financial services. So for Jay and all of us here at Financial Advisor TV and Emily, this is Matt Halloran, and I'll see you on the other side of the mic next year.